Good evening. You're watching the press preview here on Sky News. A first look at what's on the front pages as they arrive. In the next half hour, we'll see what's making the headlines with journalist Benjamin Butterworth and former Conservative Special Advisor Anita Boateng. So let's see what is on some of those front pages. And the Observer leads with an in-depth piece on the weight loss drug Mounjaro and its black market sales as the demand for the jab increases. The Mail on Sunday has an exclusive on the row rumbling on about Angela Rayner's financial affairs. The Sun on Sunday's front page is also about Angela Rayner's finances, this time looking at her boyfriend's link to a lobbying group. The Sunday Express is saying 2 out of 3 Britons would not fight for their country, according to a new poll. And the Sunday Telegraph's top story tomorrow is Kemi Badenoch's opinions on North Sea oil drilling. The Sunday Times has an interview with Lioness star Chloe Kelly, as well as a piece about votes for 16-year-olds. The Sunday Mirror has an exclusive interview with Strictly's Shirley Ballas, following on from their front page yesterday. And finally, the Star on Sunday is also looking at the cost of weight loss jabs. So I'm joined by Benjamin Butterworth and Anita Boateng. Let's get straight to it. Let's start with the Mail on Sunday, Anita, because we said there in the roundup of the front pages, this one is rumbling on. She's on other front pages we'll get to in a minute as well, but it feels like some of the papers have got it in for her.
Yeah, it's a bumper weekend for her, Spads. I remember these weekends well, where you'd spend most of your Saturday and Friday in arguments with journalists. So yes, the front story is by Glenn Owen, the political editor, and it basically emerges that she used a blue-chip law firm called Shoesmith, who have this sort of wealth protection team to look after her finances in this sort of deal over her Hove house that she's recently purchased. There isn't really much in there that suggests there's anything wrong in doing so, but more that they are perhaps a slightly blue chip and slightly more kind of supporting the wealthy, with lots of nods and winks about
expensive maybe
her,
as well, right?
Her use of her own wealth, and also sort of whether or not she's sort of tried to limit her liabilities when it comes to stamp duty and council tax. And I should say, of course, that those close to her generously deny this.
Yes, exactly. Benjamin, they're denying it. We don't know if there's been impropriety or not. That's going to be looked at. I think Keir Starmer has written to the correct authorities to have that. Beg your pardon, I think that was the Tories who wrote to him, not Keir Starmer. Either way, it may well be looked into. But how this all looks to the outside world is not ideal.
Yeah, I mean, look, I actually think when you dig deeper, it doesn't look like there's that much wrongdoing, if any, that's happened. But it's this idea that the Tories are trying to play into, that it's some kind of hypocrisy.
Yeah.
Because
it was Kevin Hollinrake who wrote the letter, wasn't it?
Indeed, and I think Chris Philp, the Shadow Home Secretary, made a police report as well. Not that it looks like it will really get anywhere. We'll see with that. But the suggestion is that there might be changes to inheritance tax rules in the Rachel Reeves budget coming up. There's certainly been various tax rises on people with more wealth in the last year. And so I think what people are getting at is a sense of hypocrisy, that Angela Rayner has used perfectly legal ways to arrange her finances, but she might have benefited from reducing her tax burden. Now, I actually think when you look at this, she's got divorced from her husband, and so it looks like she took money to leave the stake in her home in her constituency, and her home in London is Admiralty House, which is owned by the state, similar to 10 Downing Street. Exactly. And so actually I think a lot of the headlines saying that she's got 3 homes are actually very misleading, because it would appear that really she has one home, and it's this one she's just bought due to her divorce.
Yeah.
And so that would make the council tax and things not inappropriate. But the thing they're trying to get at is this hypocrisy. And also, I'm afraid, I think there's a real element of classism in this. I do just think that they see a working class woman who's made her way into this position, who's earned this financial security, and there are some people that feel like she shouldn't be there.
She is in Hove, I think, because her partner Sam Tarry's kids live there. So it makes sense that she wants to be with him and he wants to be near his children, because he's also divorced from their mum. But the Sunday Telegraph, if we move on to that one, thinks there might be an ulterior motive. Rayner plots chicken run to save seat after buying flat. And if you run down it, I think this is Richard Tice from Reform saying that this could be an option. I think Peter Kyle, who is the MP for Hove and Port Slade and is also a government minister, he might have something to say about that, Anita.
Yes, absolutely. I don't think he's quite going to be dropping the marmalade when he sees his story in the morning, though, because it very much is good on Richard Tice for getting into the front of the paper with this allegation that she's done this because she wants his Hove and Port Slade seat. So it is one with a very, very safe majority, and there is some polling that if you kind of were to extrapolate where the polls are right now, fast forward 4 years, Donald Trump's out of office, but Reform is still riding high in the polls.
Yeah.
Plausibly, a safe seat such as the one that Rayner already holds could be under threat, and therefore Tice is using that as a reason to argue that this is all strategic positioning for a chicken run. Chicken runs are actually, first of all, highly unusual, and second of all, this would be quite a plan in advance if that were the case. And I imagine, again, that she would have quite a fight on her hands. So I don't think this is really what's going to happen. Good on Tice for getting into the front pages with this allegation.
We also just saw, I think we can go back to it, the cartoon that's on the front page of the Telegraph from Matt, which is a play on the house being by the seaside. There it is. Don't touch it. Angela Rayner might have registered it as her main residence, says a parent to a son who's built a sandcastle.
There's also a great one in the Times, by the way, which says, "Haven't you got homes to go to?" Which is a bar talking to a barman talking to Angela Rayner. So she's definitely amusing everyone this weekend.
An interesting one on the front page, Benjamin, of The Observer tomorrow. There's also a story, a similar-ish story that features on the front page of The Star as well, around weight loss jabs. And this is one of the stories of our times, really, isn't it?
Really is.
In The Observer, not The Times. Britain's new black market in weight loss drugs is one of their headlines there. Tell us more.
So Manjaro, which is one of the most popular brand names of these weight loss jabs, is the price is to go up significantly, although in UK pharmacies, I think it will be less significant than it will be in other countries. But basically, one of the people that The Observer have spoken to are saying that because the cost of these weight loss drugs, which currently would cost someone about £1,500 a year, they're going to go up to about £2,500. There were fears it could be £4,000 a year. So obviously, for most people that might desperately want to lose weight but aren't eligible on the NHS, then that is not a sustainable amount of money to be paying for this. And so there's a suggestion that fake jabs or poorly regulated, unregulated jabs are going to flood the market. Apparently 18,000 fake jabs were seized by border control in the last year, which is a lot. And there's warnings that, they might use similar medicine, but you don't know the dosage, you don't know if it's really what it's claims to be on the packet. And so there's alarm that this sharp rise in costs might lead people to do that. But also, I've got friends who've bought sort of pill versions of this, which are not regulated, but are much cheaper, and you can import them from other countries. And so there are lots of people that are seeing this medical miracle. It really is, you're right about the story of our times. It could transform health outcomes and quality of life for a lot of people. But they're so desperate to get it now, and it's still so expensive. And I looked this up. To get it eligible in the NHS, you have to have a BMI of 40 or more. Now,
40 or more?
Yeah, that's what the Observer story states. Now, that's very high.
Because I thought over 30 was clinically obese, but
indeed, exactly.
It's even higher. Wow,
if you have other conditions like type 2 diabetes, you can be eligible. But if it's just for weight, you have to be seriously overweight. And so that's probably because of the cost to the NHS of these drugs. So you can see how you get into this dangerous situation. Yeah,
it also features on the front page of The Star. They talk about makers set to hike private prices to £300. Is it too good to be true, Anita? This is the thing. Sure, for people who've got comorbidities and they are clinically obese, you understand the reason. But people who think, I want to shed a bit of weight, are going to... And look, I'm sure we all know people who are doing that kind of thing. They've got it via other means. Quick jab, lose the weight, although apparently they lose their enjoyment of food and drink, go figure. But maybe this is a wise thing.
Well, I think that the use of it is definitely going up for private use. Westminster seems to be one of the kind of hotbeds of people using various weight loss jabs, and I think some people definitely need it, and that's great for them in terms of quality of life. But I do think when we think about the two big moments of our age, in my view, AI and the weight loss jabs, which could really transform society, I don't think we're really grappling with what it could really mean. So one of the things that's really critical with this is, of course, it suppresses your appetite. You're able to make better choices. But actually, people aren't necessarily making the right choices in terms of protein, and how does that shift things?
Yes.
And also, I mean, the Observer has a piece from a comment about women and how they relate to their bodies, because Serena Williams has become the face of another weight loss jab.
Okay.
And so there's real complexities in how we might think about society that might emerge from this. And it sort of feels like we're racing ahead to adopt it without really understanding what it might shift in reality.
It's amazing, isn't it? Because she is one of the best athletes of all time, and she's the face of one of these things. We'll leave that one there. Thanks for the time being. Coming up after the break, would you fight for your country? A poll for the Express on Sunday suggests that most Britons would refuse. We'll discuss that in a moment.
I'm Martha Kellner and I'm Sky's US correspondent based here in Los Angeles.
Are you still the kingmaker of this Republican Party?
I've interviewed some of America's most recognisable politicians and celebrities too.
Go ahead, back white jacket.
Deborah Haynes from Sky News. He called you Daddy earlier.
No,
Do you...
he did it very affectionate. Daddy, you're my daddy. Thank you.
Leicester is on its knees.
They've ripped the soul out of my factory and there's nothing left.
It is eerily quiet.
It's constantly on the brink of capacity.
There's overcrowding. It's not a new thing.
It's rough.
There's nothing to hide. Why aren't international journalists allowed in?
Are you worried about escalation?
Of course I'm worried about escalation, which is why my focus is on de-escalation.
The region, I think, is on edge because they are anticipating a retaliation.
Iran retaliates for the US attacks.
Founding principle of the alliance, that an attack on one is an attack on all.
Could Putin attack another NATO country within 5 years?
We arrive. A secret hospital hidden in the Myanmar jungle, treating the victims of this bloody war. This is Myanmar today. Its military rulers don't want the world to see, but we have.
I fight for my own future. I fight for my generation's future.
This is an actual crime. They don't care for that. Myanmar army is only a couple of kilometers away. So this is a major humanitarian disaster.
I'm Siobhan Robbins, Sky's Europe correspondent based here in Berlin.
In Sweden, police have seized a lethal stash.
Anyone of any age could say, I'll do that for £1 million and then have to go and shoot someone.
Yes. Sky News, the full story first. I'm Greg Milam and I'm Sky's chief North of England correspondent.
This is insane. This was a bustling residential area.
I'm Yusra Al-Bagher, Sky's Africa correspondent based in Johannesburg, South Africa.
How difficult is this to police tonight? Off the scale.
I'm Dan Whitehead, Sky News' West of England and Wales correspondent.
Our app gives you the very best of Sky News wherever you are. Breaking news, videos, analysis, up at 6%. Podcasts, watching us live.
Joins us live.
All in one place. And all at just the touch of a screen. The Sky News app. Get the full story first.
I'm David Blevins, and I'm Sky's senior Ireland correspondent. I've spent 30 years reporting the journey from conflict to peace. The end of the political stalemate, the start of a new chapter for Northern Ireland. Catholics and Protestants now facing the same threat.
If we both contract COVID-19, religion's nothing.
Sky News, the full story first.
Welcome back. You're watching the press preview here on Sky News with me, journalist Benjamin Butterworth and former Conservative Special Advisor Anita Boateng. Let's get straight back to the front page, Benjamin, of tomorrow's Sunday Times. Interesting political story at the top. Starmer's votes for 16-year-olds would actually give a boost to Corbyn's new party, is their headline. Tell us more.
So it was in the manifesto, and Labour is introducing legislation so that 16-year-olds everywhere in the UK will get a vote at the next general election, you expect. At the moment, they have it in Scotland and Wales in their national elections. But they've got some polling on what that would actually mean in reality, and it's actually really quite interesting. So 24% would vote Labour, so that's in the lead, but then 23% would vote for Reform and Nigel Farage's party, and a big chunk of what would have been supposedly Labour's vote among these 16 and 17-year-olds would go to the Jeremy Corbyn party.
Yeah.
And the argument is that actually, counter to what you'd expect, that these would be sort of predictable Labour voters, there is a real sense, some commentators, like one of Corbyn's advisors, say, that they are so frustrated with the establishment, with their life chances. In fact, there's an extraordinary fact that girls in this age group, when asked to rate their life chances on a scale of 0 to 10, many of them rate it, they're twice as likely as boys to rate their chances of their life chances between 2 and 3. I mean, that's
shame,
incredibly depressing.
Yeah, it is.
And maybe that, I mean, as the point the article makes, that tells you a lot about why they would vote for more counter-establishment parties like Farage and Corbyn.
I have a 6-year-old daughter who's just been added. She just turned 16, just added to the electoral roll. Doesn't mean she can vote, of course, yet, but she's doing a politics A-level come September, so it's kind of useful for her to know about this. Anita, go ahead.
Yeah, no, the only thing to say is, I mean, we are talking about 3% of the electorate that's going to be added, but I think there is an interesting cultural thing going on with the attraction to more populist parties, whether they're on the left and the right, and particularly the schism between the way girls vote and the way boys vote, and that could have profound implications, like, if that continues to be the case as these teenagers age.
Yeah. Let me just mention another story on the front page of the Sunday Times tomorrow. Baby dies of whooping cough as child vaccination rates fall. Interesting story there regarding vaccinations, especially as we've seen this week, the intended rollout of chickenpox vaccinations on the NHS in England, at least. But we'll move on from that story to the front page of tomorrow's Sunday Express, Anita.
Yes.
Most Britons would refuse to fight for their country. Interesting that this comes off the back of that story about teenagers in the Times, because there's been polling previously that shows teenagers wouldn't want to step up and fight should the need arise.
I mean, I think it's kind of... I don't think there's really any generation that would actually want to have to enter a war. And I think when you're talking about a hypothetical, of course, you would get polls like this. I actually have a great deal of faith in the British people that if we needed to defend ourselves, we absolutely would. I'm sure you would have gotten similar results in other countries before war starts. So I'm not as gloomy as the Express this Saturday night.
Benjamin, quickly.
I mean, the Daily Express commissioned this poll. I do think there's sort of an agenda to try and undermine young people and make them out to be softies, when actually, I think their life chances...
It's every age bracket. Why would... It's not about young people.
I think actually there's I think a lot of people feel like their life chances aren't what they should be in the country, and therefore do they feel the loyalty in return to it, which is a sort of a rational way to approach things.
Interesting thing. If there's a bit of a malaise in how people feel about the country, we know that, don't we? People aren't massively optimistic right now. Maybe they don't think it's worth defending. I mean, that's the worry, isn't it?
No, I think we need to have less of a transactional relationship with the state, which says, what do I get for this? And actually more of a sense of, like, obligations. It's one of the things that in society in general, like, people are saying, I feel more lonely, I have fewer connections, because we don't go and make friends.
Good stuff. Thank you very much indeed. Coming up next on Sky News 11, much more of the same. Don't go away.